So we've all heard the Megalodon story, the biggest shark that ever lived, a monster the size of a school bus, lurking somewhere in the deep, dark trenches of the ocean. It's a great story. It's an easy story. But what if I told you there's a shark story out there that's even wilder, even more unbelievable? And here's the kicker, it's actually true. Every single detail of it. This isn't about some prehistoric ghost. This is about a very real, very living shark that did something so impossible, so brazen, it rewrote everything we thought we knew about its entire species. And it all starts not in the age of dinosaurs, but in the winter of 1937, in a small fishing town in the Philippines, with a catch so strange it made veteran fishermen physically step back from the dock. They'd pulled up their nets expecting the usual haul. But in the tangle of fish, one creature didn't belong. It was a shark, but unlike any they'd ever seen. It looked ancient, almost primitive, with a blunt, rounded snout and a body that seemed both powerful and oddly clumsy. But the real shock was when they got it to the market. Laid out on the slabs, a local scientist noticed something protruding from its rear end. This was a female shark. And she wasn't just pregnant, she was in the middle of giving birth, right there on the ice. And as this scientist watched, a single, fully formed pup, about a foot long, slid out of its mother's body. Now, that in itself is not so strange. Some sharks give live birth. But then the pup did something. It did the one thing a shark pup should never, ever be able to do. It opened its mouth. Not to breathe water. It opened its mouth and took a gasp of air. That single, impossible breath of air shattered a century of marine biology. Because this wasn't just any shark. This was a whale shark, the gentle, spotted, filter-feeding giant of the ocean, the biggest fish in the sea. And until that moment on a market slab in 1937, the entire scientific world was convinced, absolutely certain, that whale sharks laid eggs. They had to. Every piece of logic said so. There were even these mysterious, leathery sea monster eggs called mermaid's purses, sometimes found floating in the Pacific, that were believed to be whale shark eggs. The case was closed. And then this dead mother shark, in a final silent act of defiance, blew the case wide open. She proved whale sharks didn't lay eggs at all. They gave birth to live, fully formed young. That discovery alone would have been enough. But we're just getting started, because the true insanity of this story isn't about how they're born. It's about where they go. For decades after that discovery, whale sharks became icons. Peaceful, slow-moving giants you could swim with. We knew the adults, the 40-foot behemoths that gathered at places like Ningaloo Reef or off the coast of Mexico. But we faced a mystery that gnawed at biologists for over 60 years, the baby boy. If whale sharks gave live birth, where were all the babies? In all the thousands of whale sharks documented by science, almost none were juveniles. It was a ghost story in reverse. We had the serene, floating adults, and we had the incredible story of their live birth, but the in-between, the teenage years, gone, vanished, a total blank. It was as if the pups were born, then simply dematerialized for the first decade of their lives. The ocean, it seemed, had swallowed them whole. The search became a sort of quiet obsession. Where does a creature the size of a school bus hide its children? The leading theory was the deep ocean, the midnight zone, where light never reaches. Maybe the young lived down there in the cold and dark, safe from predators until they were big enough to join the adults near the surface. It made sense, but it was just a theory, a ghost story without a ghost. Until 2021, when a team of scientists, tired of the mystery, decided to look not where they thought the sharks should be, but where the sharks themselves told them to look. They began satellite tagging adult whale sharks in the Galapagos, one of their known gathering spots. The tags would pop off, float to the surface, and transmit months of depth and location data. The scientists expected to see the usual patterns: deep dives for feeding, long migrations across the Pacific.
What they got instead was a map to a place that shouldn't exist. One shark in particular gave up the secret. After leaving the Galapagos, it didn't head west into the open Pacific. It turned east, and it kept going on a relentless straight-line journey for over 4,000 miles. It swam past the coast of South America, it entered the Atlantic Ocean, and then it did something that made the researchers recheck their equipment. It dove. Not a normal dive, a descent into a literal abyss. The tag recorded it sinking down, past 1,000 meters, past 1,500 meters, into crushing darkness and near freezing water. And then it leveled out. It had reached the seafloor. But not just any seafloor. It was swimming calmly along the bottom of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, a submerged volcanic mountain range in the middle of the ocean, thousands of miles from any continent. This was the deep sea theory proven spectacularly right. But it was also something else. This wasn't just a deep place. This was a specific, targeted location, a highway, a secret meeting ground. The data from other tagged sharks started to paint the same picture. They were all making these insane transoceanic pilgrimages to this one specific deep-sea mountain range. And the final piece of the puzzle came from the most unexpected place, the oil and gas industry. For years, deep-sea submersibles working on pipelines and wellheads had occasionally reported strange sightings in their floodlights. Small juvenile whale sharks, no bigger than a sofa, hovering over the abyssal plains. These weren't accidental sightings, they were glimpses into the nursery. The baby void had a location. It was real. The young whale sharks were spending their formative years in the most hostile environment on the planet. The lightless, high-pressure, freezing cold deep ocean, congregating around seamounts and ridges thousands of feet down. They weren't hiding near the surface, they were living in a world of permanent night. But why? The answer is a masterpiece of evolutionary strategy. The surface ocean is a dangerous nursery. It's full of predators, other sharks, orcas, even large fish that would see a 4-foot whale shark pop as a snack. Down in the abyss, there are fewer large predators. The cold water also slows their metabolism, meaning they need less food in an environment where food is scarce. They're essentially putting themselves in suspended animation, growing slowly and safely in the world's most extreme witness protection program. They're using the ocean's harshest realm as their fortress. And the seamounts are the key. These underwater mountains create upwellings, currents that bring nutrients up from the deep. This attracts tiny organisms, which attract small fish and squid. It's a deep-sea buffet, a reliable food source in a desert of scarcity. The young sharks are following a deep ocean roadmap written in currents and geology, passed down through millennia.
So let's put this all together, because this is where the story becomes truly mind-bending. A pregnant female whale shark, likely in the deep Pacific, gives birth to a litter of pups. Those tiny pups, just over a foot long, are immediately on their own. Instinctively, they begin to sink. They leave the sunlit world behind and enter the twilight, then the midnight zone. They join a current, a highway in the dark. For years, they grow in this hidden realm, following a path their species has followed for millions of years. They navigate, without a map, to specific underwater mountain ranges in the middle of vast ocean basins. They live a life of darkness and cold we can barely imagine. And then, one day, when they've reached a certain size, maybe 15, 20 feet long, that same instinct tells them to rise. They leave their deep water sanctuary and make the long ascent back to the sun. They join the adults at the known gathering spots, the ones we tourists love to visit. The circle is complete. They went from a breath of air on a market slab to a void, to a secret, deep ocean nursery at the bottom of the world. This is the true story. It's not about a monster that might be extinct, it's about a gentle giant that performs a migration more epic and secretive than any bird or mammal on Earth.
It's a story that spans from a dockside mystery in 1937 to satellite tags in 2021, linking a gasp of air to a journey into an abyss. It proves that the greatest secrets of the ocean aren't held by monsters we imagine, but by the giants we've always overlooked. And the next time you see a picture of a spotted whale shark smiling calmly in blue water, just remember, you're not looking at a peaceful surface dweller. You're looking at a deep-sea astronaut that's just returned from a journey to another world. A world that, until very recently, it kept completely to itself.